Hare Krishna. So today we have to look at the verse number 14 of the second chapter. Krishna says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukhadukkadaha agama paino nityaha tam titikshasva bharata. So here first we have to go back to what was the reason for this verse, because if we understand the reason, then only we'll be able to find out why he said this. So what does he say here? We can look at that first briefly. He says it's like a question or a rhetoric. Do you think that the contact of the sense objects alone cause pleasure and pain through sensations of heat or cold? Oh Arjuna, actually they come and go. They are impermanent. Render them useless. Oh Bharata, he says. So this verse by itself, why did this verse come here is one question that we will have. Because firstly he was told by Krishna that you're grieving for those who are not worthy of grief. Why? Because they are not even dying, they are always there, he said. The jivas are always there, they are immortal. So you don't have to grieve for them. Then he said, death is of the body is anyway going to happen, and it happens just like how a child grows into a youth and then to an old man. Same way only the soul just acquires another body which is more fresher for him to live in. So there's no need for you to cry. That is what we had seen in the last 13th verse. Now he's saying don't grieve for the body and soul is what we have now deduced, no, from the previous 2-3 verses. So now what would the question be for Arjuna? So Arjuna would think, okay, if I don't have to grieve for the body or the soul, that doesn't matter at all to me. Because for me, what matters is that soul who is now in that Bhishma's form, or the soul who is now in Drona's form, and who are my relatives in the form of like grandfather or teacher, whatever. And they love me and I love them. I've been playing with them, I've been talking with them, I've been taught so many lessons, also so many activities I have done with them. So if the body is anyway dying, that's not my question. My question is, why should I lose out this experiences that I am having, which I like? That is my question. Why should I be deprived of their company, their association, and so many conversations, walks, and arts, whatever, domestically eating food with them, drinking everything? Why should I? This kind of bereavement, it agonizes me. I don't know why I should go through this. Instead, if I just don't fight, then they will be anyway alive and I don't have to face this kind of situation at all. So now for this only the reply comes, which is very, very crushing. According to different philosophers, the meaning is different. But Acharya Madhva interpretation is very, very instructive in this matter. So what he says is, this is a question by Krishna. You have to think about it. Do you think that just the contact of the sense and the object, means sense is the like the skin and the sensation of touch, the eye and the sense and the object of the eye is the form. So do you think that the contact of this sense organ and its object alone causes the feeling of that, liking or pain or pleasure? Because we say, okay, when we are looking at something, then we say, I like to see this. So he's asking him to think back. Why are you feeling that you like to see it? Is it just by looking that you like to see it, or is it something more? So generally what happens when we look at something which is very new to us, we don't have any feeling about it. We don't think about it in that way at all. I like this or I don't like this doesn't come to us. Only when we have seen it a few times and experienced it Then we decide whether we like it or we don't like it. When you see a child for the first time, the baby, when it starts to experience things, the way it takes things in the first place, it doesn't know what is happening actually. So it is just calm. Then when it feels a kind of pain from that incident, then it will not like that place anymore. For example, babies, when they are taken for vaccination the first time, they don't have any memory of that place. They don't have anything about what is an injection. They don't know anything about it. But later, the moment they come to that place itself, by looking at that place or by looking at the doctor, within 4 months or 5 months, they are able to know this. 2 months onwards, at the first time they don't know. By looking, they don't have any impression. They don't feel cold. They don't feel hot. They don't feel sad. They don't feel any kind of emotion. But if you take them at after 4 months or 8 months, when they have the awareness that this is a place where I don't like it because it causes me pain. So what happens, that mental thought or the mind has associated that particular experience with a sadness or with a which it does not like to experience. That time it denies, okay, I don't want this, and it starts crying, the baby. So why did it happen? Because of the mind being associated there. Okay, so now we understand that the sense objects by themselves don't cause any pain or pleasure to the person. Okay, see, you have to take this in a proper way. Example, suppose you are used to living in a cold country. For you, when there is medium, when it's not so cold, say in September, October, you may not need to wear a heavy coat. Whereas a person who is not there and he has come there, he might need to wear uh, more warmer clothing. So these kind of exposures is not what we are talking of. We are talking of that which is causing real pain and pleasure to the soul. So if there is a pain or pleasure to the soul, that means the mind is involved in that. So if the mind is involved in that, then don't you have any control on your mind? That's what he's asking Arjuna. You have to understand and you have to let go of that, he says. When you know that this is not the thing that has to be done, then you should let go. Okay, what is that mind? Why does the mind cause it? So he says that is called as abhimana. Abhimana means attachment to that thing as mine. It is mine. He is my uncle. That my or that mine causes you all this kind of pain, he says. But the reality of the fact is that this is impermanent. What you think as mine is not permanent. It was not permanent. You were, suppose Arjuna was 73 years when he was in the Mahabharata war. So before 73 years, Arjuna was not there in that body. He didn't even know Bhishma. So even after he grew up, he was around 12 years or 13 years when he met Bhishma first. So till then, he didn't have any kind of feeling towards Bhishma. But after he started associating himself and he started making up his mind that this is my uncle, this is my grandfather, this is my and mine, then he wanted it for permanent. Whereas the actual fact is that nothing is permanent. He told him that the body is not permanent. So if you think that this person in this body is mine for some relationship, or then it doesn't work out, he says, because it's impermanent. So you have to leave that sting which binds you to that person, because that is not going to be permanent. That is the fact. Here, that is the impact that Acharya Madhva gives. What Shankaracharya says is that anyway or the other, there will be pleasure and pain. You have to just tolerate it, he says. That is the superficial meaning of this verse given by Shankaracharya. So whatever it is there, it is not Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya. Shankaracharya is differently. He's saying, no, anyway or the other, you have to, this itself is not real or something like that. So we look at Ramanujacharya, he says that anyway or the other, all these things are impermanent, so you just leave it. But that is not what is hinted here, because the cause, mere sensation does not cause anything. The feeling that it is mine causes everything. So the example is that when you think if there is a child outside who is your nephew or your niece, then if that child falls, then you feel totally upset, you run towards it. Whereas in the same group, if there's someone else child who's also playing and they fell down, we just don't get that emotional feeling, oh, what happened? We go and help. That is what is required of us to do. But we don't get all in a flurry. What happened? What happened? So this attachment only causes the feeling of the pleasure and pain. This is what you have to understand, he says. So matra sparshaha means the contacts of the sense objects with the senses. Tu is alone. Is it? He's asking like a question. That tu gives a question mark there. That do you think that the contact of the sense objects with the senses alone causes it? Causes what? Pleasure or pain. Shitoshna sukha dukkha daha means the causes pleasure and pain through the sensation of heat and cold. Agama apayino. This is they come and go, he says. Anityaha, they are impermanent. Tan, let you have to render them. Titikshaswa means render them ineffectual. Don't make them effective. O Bharata, he says. So you are Arjuna is called Bharata here. So Bharata is that person who was the Bharata is a great king who ruled this entire Bharata Varsha. So you are from that lineage of the kings who are well known for their valor and who gave up everything. Bharata was a Chakravarti who gave up everything at the age of like 70 or 80 and he went and retired to the forest to do meditation and tapas. So this attachment is what you have to look at, he says. Understand that this is not permanent and try to overcome it is what Krishna's idea is that he wants to share it with Arjuna. Okay. Hare Krishna.